ensure that there was certainty, but also safeguarding and protection, so that people were not running away or starting a fight. And let me just say this. Mohammed and I were working in Gaza a year ago, in Gaza. We were some of the few from the outside that had the ability to go inside that territory a year ago. And it was a terrible experience from the fact that, or from the observation of how people had to live there, and what is now going on there is terrible. Not that it is not terrible what happened in the south of Israel. On both sides, it's terrible, it's war. And this is why I'm referring to this, because yesterday, Mohammed and I heard that the person who was taking care of us while we were in Gaza last year, a young man, who was coordinating our activities there, driving us around, showed us the complex. He was killed yesterday. Not only him, his family as well. And I can truly say Mohammed, that was his name, was just a decent human being. And that is so sad, what war means. And what we said to each other is that fortunately we avoided that from happening in our country. And we were that close. If the whites decided that they wanted to fight it out rather, they could have done it. If the black community decided to fight it out instead of sitting around the table and finding a peaceful settlement, they could have done it. And that is where we would have ended, like what is happening in Israel and Palestine today. I think that is the bottom line of the message that we bring. And that is to say, it's better to go and sit at the table, to have dialogue. You might have your differences. You might have your racial squabbles. Meyer, and I'm sure there are. But find a way to sit down and to talk it through and bring about the solution. Before most of you arrived here, we learned from Charlton what the trust building organization is doing. And I want to congratulate you, just from what the brief introductions you've made and the briefing you gave us. It's unbelievable what you do. I think that's the recipe. And from our own experience, I can say, in the early 1990s, when we started the process of talks in South Africa, that was after the release of Mandela, as I said earlier, there was a lot of political contestation, as you can imagine, because suddenly people were free to fight, which they did, particularly in the black community. Because now it was a contestation for who is holding power within the black community into the future. And there were huge fights between the ANC and another black party, the Inkatha Freedom Party, on an ongoing basis. Some of it was supported by elements of the former government, rogue elements. But it costed the lives of more than 20,000 people, that political violence that took place. And the only way through which it happened that we could bring that under control, contain it, was through the leadership of our religious leaders, Archbishop Tutu and others. We established local peace committees, like your trust building committee. Absolutely the same thing. Bringing communities together to talk to each other, to sort out their squabbles so that they can find a way going forward. And those peace committees in the South African history, there's far too little being said about it. You know, Mandela and de Klerk and us who negotiated get all the accolades. But the people on the ground, civil society, church leaders, business leaders, were actually those that really made peace at the local level. And I think that is why it's doable to have a conversation like this, to find each other in terms of our experiences, your experiences, and going forward. There's still a lot we have to learn from you. Let me close off by saying, I'm visiting the US on a regular basis since 1982. I had the privilege of coming to the South, like Tim was referring to, with Doug Tanner. It was an amazing experience for me. I had the benefit of walking the Selma Bridge with John Lewis, myself, him talking us through that event. And as you know, John was part of